We're with U.S. soccer coach Gregg Berhalter here in D.C. Exciting announcement today, obviously. I just want to kind of get into the meat of some of the stuff I want to talk to you about, though, in terms of the coaching side of it. You're now going through this as a second time, kind of, and everyone is, you've talked at length before, various interviews about the difference between coaching club and country. What is the difference for you, though, going in the second time around as a national team coach and some of the things you learned in that first 4 years?
You know, I think the important thing is to be focused on getting better. We feel like we did a lot of good things in the first term, but now it's about how do you get better, not being complacent, really trying to take the group from one level to the next. And and that's the key to me, is that whatever you did in the past, you evaluate it, but the whole intention is to improve.
Right, but like, what are the things that you learn? You talk about the differences between club and country. Like, what are the things you learned in that first 4 years that you apply to then accomplish that goal of getting better?
You know, it's interesting because I think the experience alone, particularly for the players participating in a World Cup, it gives you the comfort that going into this next World Cup, they understand what it's like. They understand how difficult the games are. They understand the difference between winning and losing, and potentially what it takes to win these games. World Cup games, particularly the knockout games, are very challenging. Very little separates the teams, and it's about being tuned in for every moment during the game to get the result that you need.
I want to ask you tangentially about, I'm sure, what is one of your least favorite topics in terms of what happened with Gio and the last World Cup. You've talked about that specifically before, but I think one of the things that's interesting from like a mass, we're obviously a sports talk radio show is the audience that this will go to, as opposed to the hardcore locked-in soccer fan. But the idea that you're representing the country, and with that comes some level of transparency. As a national team coach, you're also a coach trying to protect your team. And so as you navigated that situation and any other situation that might arise, how do you balance the need to be transparent and like, yes, we are representing you, the crest, the country, versus protecting your team and kind of that locker room?
Well, I think it starts with your group. It starts with the trust that you have between the group and the players. And you work hard over the course of 4 years to build that trust. And I think that's, when you have teammates that can look each other in the eye and they know that they're gonna lay everything on the line for the person next to them, then you're in a really good spot. And so when we move into this next 2.5 year period, that's where the team needs to get to again. You could be at a certain place in the last World Cup, and now it's about how do you get back to that for 2026.
So when specific to my question, though, in terms of, talking about the dynamics of what's going on within a team, who's, kind of the stock up, stock down, do you feel a different level of necessity to share with the press and thus the fans? We're just the conduit, compared to, say, when you were at Columbus with the crew and kind of that more private club environment?
Well, I think there's certainly more attention on the national team when the national team plays, because we don't play that often, and when we do, it's big news. There's a lot of attention around our players. A lot of our players are very high-profile players, and the policy that we have in general has always been to be more transparent than less transparent. For us, it's not about coveting information or holding secrets. It's very simple. We want to create a team that works well together. We want to create a team that works for each other, and a team that understands what they're doing on the field.
Yeah, I know it's tough, so I appreciate your answer to that question. More on the pitch now. When you think about what it means to develop a style and to build a team for American soccer, now that the player pool is so diverse in terms of not just where they come from, but where they're playing, has that become harder, do you think, than compared to when you were playing, or even 4 years ago, to try to really identify the style and the tactics that are best for this group?
No, I think it's easier because when you look at it in general, our top players are all playing at very high levels, and they're playing in Champions League games, and they're playing at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. And when you have players like that, it means they're easily.
So you're saying having good players is good for a coach?
Exactly, it helps a coach for sure. But I think, but more specifically, I think it helps with the flexibility of the players. They're used to having to play different formations, and they're used to being coached at a high level. And I think that's helpful. When you see, for example, the example I'll give you is Christian Pulicic. You see the managers that he's worked with over the last 5 years. Some of the top managers in the game, and with each one of them, they play different styles, and he's have to adapt, for as he's gone.
How hard is it for you to evaluate, whether it's for a Copa America or ultimately a World Cup, if a guy is playing one position, one role at a club team versus what you maybe envision for them at the national
That's
team?
the challenge. I think the biggest challenge is when they're doing something completely different than you're going to be asking them to do. And it happens, though. And again, we have to be adaptable. We have to fit into, we have to work around our best players because that number is limited. It's not like a club team where you can just get another guy.
Right.
And so we're looking at our guys all the time. We're seeing their skill sets, and we're adapting, and we're trying to fit them in the best way possible.
And then last but not least, that number 9 position has been a struggle for a while now at the U.S. level, but there is an incredible influx of young talent. How do you see that position stacking up going into this summer?
I think we've improved in that position for sure. We want to keep going. We want to keep supporting our guys, whether that's Ricardo or Ballo or Josh Sargent or Haji Wright or, there's a ton of guys that have been out there doing well in the striker position, and we want to just keep supporting them. Jordan Sabachu's another one. So we have guys out there, and now it's just about seeing how they fit into what we do.
Gregg Berhalter, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.